Tessa's POV. I followed Seth through the front doors, to be warmly greeted with the fresh crisp sun and the lineup of many pristine, parked-up cars in a variety of different shapes and colors. I hold back for a moment, allowing Seth to take the lead, as I follow him over towards a khaki-green Land Rover, watching its lights blink to life as he gets near to signify that this was his car. I head around to the passenger side, climbing in, as he climbs into the driver's side and starts up the car. From what I remember, Leo doesn't live far, Seth announces, pulling the car out of the spot before driving down towards the large main gates in an attempt to converse. Why yeah. Aaron told me that she was only living down the hill, I comment, as he nods and pauses for the gates to open for us, allowing us to exit. I take in the surroundings once more, enjoying how neat and tidy this pack was as everything just seemed so pristine and well kept. It was obvious that the wolves here took pride in not only their personal appearance, but the appearance of their homes, cars, and overall lifestyles. This is the street, Seth says out loud, taking a left turn further down the hill as more grand homes come into view. I shrink back ever so slightly, growing nervous at the thought of what we might find on the visit. From when I had last saw Erin, she looked miserable, and from what I had been told, she was reduced to sleeping on a mattress on the floor, which was a cry for help in itself, let alone how he had treated her in front of everyone at the dinner table. Leo clearly had his career in check, to say the least, being blessed with a home like the ones we were currently passing, but that was no mask for his rotten attitude and personality. The car came to a slow, as I turned to glance at Seth, who was looking out of his own side window. Number 60, this is us, he states with a nod, pulling up outside a decent-sized home with a neat front lawn. Seth cuts off the engine, before unclipping his seat belt as I still and hesitate on reaching for my own. Nervous? You look like you've seen a ghost, Seth comments loudly, as I inhale a sharp breath and nod a little. He's not wrong. Well, lucky for you, you're out with the pack's trusty beta. I'm the next best thing to Kane himself, Tessa, so you really don't need to worry, I'll handle this, Seth states boldly, his tone holding a sense of light-hearted humor as I begin to smile at his attempt to put me at ease. Oh okay, let's go then, I breathe, as Seth grins and watches me unclip my belt. Just let me do the talking, yeah? He states one last thing, as I think of his words. Was that a warning? Perhaps I could piss Leo off by saying something, especially to Aaron. I need to be cautious with this. With that, we both climb out of the vehicle, as I hurry my way around the car to catch up with Seth's large strides. Why does every damn male wolf have to be so tall and walk so fast? I reach him just as he gets to the front door, before he wastes not a moment more as he knocks heavily on it, turning to shoot me another smile before turning his attention back in anticipation. It seems there isn't much sign of movement from within, as I begin to worry that we had came at the worst time. Are they out? I ask, my voice clearly laced with slight disappointment. With that, Seth knocks on the door again, the knock itself being sure to echo around the large home with its own authority. We pause yet again, before I sigh a little. Of course we come when nobody is home. That's just my damn luck. Looks like we will need to come back another time, Tessa, Seth confirms, turning his back and gesturing for me to follow him back to the car. This sucks. I trudge my feet up the path behind him, resorting back to my original feelings of helplessness and worry. This was my best shot and it's ruined. I go back around to my side, turning to offer on a last glance to the home in which my friend was currently enslaved to, before my eyes widen and almost fall out of my head. She's in. I breathe out, spotting Erin herself upstairs as she peers out of the window from behind the curtain. I instantly wave, as Seth takes notice from inside of the car and turns his attention back to where I'm looking. She looks cautious, as she glances up and down the road, before lifting her hand to wave back, giving me a small smile in return. It was hard to see her properly, with the sun blinding us as we stared up towards her window, but I was thankful to find Seth climbing back out of the car to join my side. I'm guessing he's went out and has left her home. That explains why she's been too nervous to come to the door. Seth speaks his thoughts, as I point towards the front door and mouth for her to open it. Erin hesitates, as she takes her time to think on my gesture, glancing around once more before nodding slowly. With that, my heart skips a beat, as she moves away from the window to signify that she was indeed coming down to let us in. This is a miracle. You got lucky. Seth chuckles, as I can't fight back the grin that stretches across my face, hearing sudden movement come from within the home. Next we hear a click, followed by the small rattle of a chain, before the door handle is turned and Erin's face comes into view. Good evening, Erin. I don't know if you remember me, but I was at the dinner. I'm the pack's beta. Seth. Seth speaks instantly, his confidence radiating off of him as he stretches out his hand to shake hers, which she gently reaches out to return. Although she looked relieved to see me, she also looked pained. Can we come in? Seth pushes, as I watch Aaron grow unsteady with the question. Maybe I shouldn't. Leo said not to leave or to answer the door to anyone whilst he's gone. Aaron stammers out her words, showing evident panic as my brows furrow at just how broken and terrified she seemed. I understand, but my duty as the pack beta is to carry out random home visits in order to ensure that all pack members are living up to the alpha's standards here. Leo will understand why you had to let me in, trust me. Seth pushes on, as Aaron seems to think on his words. I was thankful that he wasn't willing to let this go so easily, and still couldn't quite believe that he was willing to help me out with this, especially without Kane knowing. Okay, sure. I guess that makes sense. Come in. Aaron gulps slightly, before eventually opening the door enough to allow us both to step inside. Once my body is across the doorframe, I instantly grab my friend and crush her to me, as an overwhelming sense of panic floods me from within. I needed to see her again, it was destroying my soul thinking about what she was having to deal with down here. Seth takes the moment to close over the door, before stepping away from us to poke his head inside a couple of the closest rooms, seeming to begin his own little investigation. I'm so happy to see you again, Aaron. I sniffle, as her arms cling on to me tightly. You too. I can't stand it here, Tess. Aaron admits quietly, cautious that Seth was still nearby. With that, I pull back, glancing into her tear-filled sunken eyes as they plead back with me desperately for any form of help. Where is your mail? Seth approaches us once again, as we turn to see him, this being my first time taking in the inside of the home since stepping in here. It was minimalistic compared to Kane's home, yet it was clean and neat. Downstairs was at least. I don't know what I had actually expected. Some dirty, crummy living space that reeks of beer and sweat? Most likely. He goes out a lot, usually to the pub, I think. Aaron nods in response, as Seth cocks a brow at the statement. Is he due back here anytime soon, do you think? Seth pushes on, as Aaron shrugs and hobbles from foot to foot anxiously. Well, it's hard to tell, but he did only leave an hour ago, so maybe not? She responds softly, as Seth nods and looks around once more. Great. Why don't you two grab a drink and I'll carry out my checks? Seth suggests, as my heart flutters at the chance to speak with my friend alone. Thank you. I nod eagerly, offering him a smile which he knowingly accepts with a curt nod of his own before heading for the staircase. Finally, I can truly get some insight into what life here has been like for Aaron thus far, and something's telling me it's not going to be good. Tessa's POV. Look, Tessa. I hope you don't mind, but he only lets me drink water in here. He locks away all of the good stuff over in the pantry. I follow Aaron into the neat kitchen, taking note of the fresh cleaning smell and glisten of the worktops as we enter. He locks everything away from her? But why? I gasp at her update, shock filling my features as I take note of the heavy padlock displayed upon the door, in which she motioned to as being Leo's holy pantry. He says sugar isn't good for us humans, claims that we all get fat too easily. Aaron huffs, as I watch her retrieve 2 bottles of water from the fridge before coming to join me at the wood table, slumping down into the chair. That bastard. He's not the slimmest of males himself. Maybe he should lock that stuff away from himself and give you the key for safekeeping? But I suppose you can't exactly lock him away from the pub though, can you? That beer belly is here to stay, folks. I instantly scoff and begin to rant on in distaste at the cheek of him, having seen him at the dinner and being reminded of some type of ogre when he had first walked in, facial features and all, right? I didn't realize how much I would miss sugar, and it's not even been a week. Erin shakes her head, her eyes falling low in defeat. In this moment, I take the time to stew. DY my friend fully, taking mental note of how much she had changed in demeanor in such a short period of time being with Leo. Erin was like a shell of her former self. The once happy and bright girl who could cheer up the mood in any room was now broken and almost destroyed. Almost. I won't let her go down without a fight. She's worth more than being destined to a life of eternal hell with Leo. So how did you manage to come visit me today? Did your alpha let you? Erin seems to enjoy our moment together, although I can't help but notice the slight quiver in her hands every couple of minutes. She was evidently on edge. Well, not exactly. I laugh nervously, suddenly being reminded of my sneaky outing with Seth, having not mentioned to Kane where we were actually headed. Though I will say, Seth didn't exactly lie, did he? He was doing a home visit. We just failed to mention that it was the home in which my best friend was currently trapped in. You snuck down here? Erin's eyes widen, as she looks somewhat alarmed at first. Tessa, he will come looking for you. You don't have long. She continues to ramble, as I hush her, instantly understanding how all of this sounds. Hey, look, calm down, he knows that I went out with Seth, just not to hear. I explain, as Aaron slowly nods and blinks profusely to digest my words. We certainly don't need to cause her any more stress right now. Her time here with Leo was enough to cope with, let alone thinking that I had run off with the pack beta to pay her a visit. Tell me, Aaron, what's it like here? I know that he's awful, but how bad are we talking? I lean closer to her, fearing that we might begin to run out of time together and needing more information on her current situation. Horrendous would be a word to describe it, Tess. I'm so upset that I've landed in this mess. I have the beautiful home, decent pack, lived down the hill from you, just all with the wrong damn male. Wolf. I would take anybody else but him. Erin's eyes fill with tears as she recounts her feelings towards her Judgment Day luck. I watch her sniffle to contain her tears, before she begins to roll up her jumper sleeve, the scratchy material seeming irritating just from first glance. Unsure of where this was headed, I perk up a little and watch as more skin comes into view, before she rotates her arm to display many small red blistering circles all over her skin. My jaw drops in horror, watching as she swallows hard before repeating the action with her other sleeve, revealing similar marks to the first. What, how? I splutter, reaching out to grab her hand, pulling her arm closer to my eyes for further inspection as her eyes fall numb at the memory. At first I thought he hated me, and was perhaps irritated for making a bad choice at the Judgment Day. Aaron trails off, as I shake my head in defense. You are not the mistake here, Aaron. That monster is. I argue, glancing between her abused arms and back to her hurt face. I just thought that, maybe he will keep me around for the 2 weeks, and then just take me back, you know? Aaron shrugs a little, her brows pulling together in confusion. I nod, giving her the space to speak out, as she wets her dry lips momentarily before sighing. But that was just too good to be true. He claims that I'm just the perfect breeder that he could find and that I will have to do for now. Aaron squeezes her eyes shut, recounting the horrific words he had once spoke as my anger instantly bubbles from deep within my chest. I hate this man, he's destroying her soul, and it's not even been a week yet. He's going to ruin her. He's an ass. I retort angrily, having never felt my temper rise quite like this. This has to stop. After the dinner, he was so pissed off that I had went to the bathroom with you, and that's when he began to give me these marks. Although they are lit. Lou, they hurt like hell. Aaron confirms, sniffling as she glances down at them once more before looking away, pained by the sight. I'm so sorry. I should have known he wouldn't like that. I feel the need to apologize, having felt that I could have at least helped to prevent this from happening to her. How did he do this? My question comes quietly, unsure of whether I was prepared to listen to the details or not, but knowing I had to. I keep my grip of her hand, giving it a comforting squeeze to show my unwavering support, as she breathes in and out slowly to contain her emotions. It was a cigar, and he strapped me to a chair upstairs where there is a coal fire in one of the bedrooms. Before he put the tip into the flames over and over again, placing the end onto my skin each time to burn me. Erin closes her eyes, her hand quivering in mine as I take note of her sudden tension. He put a cloth in my mouth so that I couldn't even scream out in pain or beg for him to stop. I just had to sit there and endure it, over and over and over again. Erin's first tear finally falls, as her brave facade finally falters for the first time. This is awful. I felt guiltier now more than ever before. I didn't deserve the lavish lifestyle with the alpha of the pack, the amazing day out, the amazing room and home to stay in, not when my friend was down the hill suffering in this way. It was only right that I push Kane one more time, have him see reason with all of this. He may be terrifying at times, but I believe he has a heart in there somewhere, and at this point, may be the only one to help save her. After he was finished burning me, he just left me there in the chair the whole night to replay the nightmare over and over again in my head. I would rather die than live like this, Tessa. Erin's eyes stream with water now, her desperation flooding out from within. He did what? We both shoot up to our feet in Fr. Alright, hearing a thunderous tone enter the kitchen without warning as my heart begins to race within my chest. Erin instantly pulls her sleeves down, covering the evidence as I shuffle from foot to foot like a blundering fool. Don't hide it, show me. He demands, as I blink between the pair of them, having never seen Seth this angry until now. From the short time I had known him, he had always been approachable and light-hearted, but not now. Right now he looked as though he could tear through full villages on his own, destroying everything in his path. He looked hellbent. Please. I didn't mean to show them, he will kill me for this. Aaron begs, taking steps back as Seth only takes the invite to move closer. He wastes no time on approaching Aaron, taking her hand in his before curiously tugging back her sleeve, observing the damage for himself. Erin's breaths come out in short pants, her face looking more flushed than ever before as a heavy silence falls amongst the room. What's he going to do now? Tessa's POV. Myself and Erin stand completely on edge, unsure of where exactly this whole event was headed next with how pissed off Seth now seemed. After what feels like agonizing hours which had only realistically been long passing minutes, Seth releases Erin's wrist from his grip, turns to look me dead in the eye with a face void of emotion before "Let's go, I'm taking you home," he states, as I feel my heart crumble within my chest from his dead response. Did I hear him right? Are we just going to leave her here? Is that the best he can do? What? I stammer, the disbelief for his choice of action evidently clear as Erin opens and closes her mouth like a fish dragged from water, shocked and upset. You heard me, let's go. He huffs, turning towards the door to make his abrupt exit, leaving myself and Erin standing gobsmacked in the kitchen area. I turn to my friend, feeling the most sorrow and shame that I felt thus far, knowing that right now there didn't seem like much hope at all to help her out of this one, not yet. I won't stop trying, you know? I choke out my words, rushing to her quickly to give her a tight hug which she ghostly returns, seeming far too overwhelmed to even comprehend this whole day. I love you. I tell her next, frantic now that we only had seconds to wrap things up since who knows when I'll next see her again now. I love you too. Erin whispers, her tone quiet and coming out as more of a pained breath. Tessa, let's go. I hear Seth shout from the hallway, as I pull back from our embrace, give her shoulders one last squeeze, before turning to leave my desperate friend behind. My feet become heavier with each step I take, moving further and further away from my lost and helpless friend, knowing that my time to save her was very quickly running out. I spot Seth posted by the front door, hand on the handle and ready to leave as he awaits my company before turning to open it. The lowered sunlight hits our faces on exit once more, but this time feels like more of a third-degree burn than anything else, bringing my thoughts racing back to Erin's horrendous marks. We approach the car, as the lights blink to life again, and I slowly make my way around to climb into the passenger seat, fumbling to strap over my seatbelt and avoiding all eye contact with Seth. How could he just respond the way he did? I thought his role was to do home checks to ensure people were behaving. What he had just seen was straight-up abuse. Wait right here. Seth opens his door to instruct me not to move, before he slams it shut and to my surprise turns on his heels and heads back up the path towards the house. Wait. Is he going back to help her? Maybe he had to get me out for her privacy in case she doesn't open up to him whilst I'm there. Has he changed his mind? I suddenly pull my hands together in my lap as my fingers intertwine and begin to fidget and move on their own accord. I sat in the silence of the car for just under 10 minutes, watching the numbers on the car screen tick forward slowly before finally, Seth re-emerged from the home. Silence remains as he climbs back into the car beside me, and I have to admit that I feel slightly defeated that he hadn't just swept Erin up and brought her back here with him. That stuff obviously only happens in the stories. Don't mention this to Kane. Seth's tone is curt as he starts up the car and wastes no time speeding off down the street, taking us back up the hill to my original place of residence. Hopefully Kane doesn't even ask because I'm not the greatest liar. As we approach the familiar gates, the precious events seem to settle down on me as I inhale a deep breath to compose myself before going inside. Why did you go be back? I find the question escaping past my lips, betraying me as we sit together in the car and watch the gates pull open to allow us entry. The less you know, the better. Seth replies, releasing a deep breath of his own as I all but nod once. It seemed that his positive and soft demeanor had totally shifted and wasn't coming back to him anytime soon. Maybe after a good night's sleep he will come around and want to help me out again? At least I even got to see Erin today, right? Seth wastes no time on pulling into the same parking spot as before as I take note of the emptiness of the spaces now, leaving only 2 other cars, one in which I recognized as Kane's. Dinner is in 20, we should probably freshen up. Seth sighs, unbuckling his belt once we are stationary as I follow his lead and do the same. We climb out of the car, and trudge our way across the gravelly stones towards the grand main doors, the guilt eating me from the inside out at the thought of Erin's current situation compared to my own. It wasn't fair. We enter the house to be greeted with what looks like a crime scene as I pause by the door and allow Seth to bypass me on the way in. What's happened? I panic, remaining still, as we take in the shards of glass scattered across the floors of what used to be a flower pot from the unit. Water was everywhere, and so was the colorful pieces, and wall-mounted frames had been launched from their previous positions on the walls. Ornaments lay around randomly, and a lamp from down the hallway had too been smashed to a trillion pieces, bulb and all. Kane? Seth hollers instantly, as my heart rate quickens in uncertainty. We weren't gone long, so what happened when we left here? Did someone have a fight? Did people try to break in? I mean, that would be hard considering how much security surrounds this place, but perhaps it's a specialized team? We hear movement from down the hall, before a figure comes into. Anthony, where's Kane? What the fuck happened this time? Seth pushes, as I feel some sense of relief from seeing a familiar face as opposed to an intruder. Just another one of his tantrums. Alpha Silo on the meeting tried to get smart with him, Anthony updates us, offering a dry laugh as my eyes widen. I suddenly screech, hearing a loud knock on the door from behind me. As both males turn to face me instantly, my cheeks flare bright red, watching the handle turn before a short lady pokes her head around the door. Hello, we were phoned in by the Alpha to clean up? She informs, as my embarrassment only progresses when seeing Seth smirk at me before shaking his head at my dramatics. It's not my fault, I was on edge right before the lady knocked. I step aside, with still no sign of Kane himself, as two females let themselves in with the proper supplies and begin making a start on the aftermath of what sounds like Kane's fury. Tessa, let's go find him. Seth waves me over to him with his hand, as my eyes bulge a little at the thought of finding the furious man in question. What If he's still angry? My feet move on their own accord, the smaller shards crushing under beneath my feet. Watch your step, dear. One of the women warn, pointing out a large water puddle as I thank her softly and step around it. Both Anthony and Seth lead the way, walking ahead confidently in search of their alpha and friend as I cower back behind them a little, cautious of what we could walk into. I would like to think that Kane would be capable of controlling himself around me, but he was a male wolf at the end of the day and therefore destined to have an unforgiving temper. We climb the stairs, as Anthony and Seth take turns to check a couple of the rooms in which he could be in on the way, before our trail leads to his office doors. He's in there, Seth confirms, as we still by the doors, sensing Kane's domineering presence from the inside. Let's send her in first, he's less likely to blow up at her, Anthony suggests, as my eyes widen in horror at their plan. Me? Little helpless me? What did I do to deserve this? Whoa, chill out. We will wait out here, and if you scream we will come to your rescue. Seth chuckles, as I blink frantically, unsure of whether they were joking or not. What if he's so mad that he just totally sees red and forgets where he is and goes on a breakdown and winds up killing me? What then? Go on. Seth pushes, moving behind me and guiding my body closer towards the door. Without much choice, my shaky hand reaches out for the handle, and before I know it, I push it open. Tessa's POV. As soon as I step inside the dim office, Seth and Anthony waste no time on pulling the doors closed behind me, fully trapping me in the lion's den without a second thought. I first take note of the large floor-length curtains being drawn shut on all of the window, with nothing more than a sliver of sunlight spilling through from the tops of the windows. My eyes scan the mess of the place, seeing books and work accessories airing across the floor before my eyes find the toppled work desk, which had evidently been flipped. Unsure of where to start, I take a small step forward before tensing at the deep male voice coming from the sofa chair in the far corner. I'm over here, he states, as I turn my body to find his shadowy silhouette leaning back on the chair, arms placed on either side of him. Are you okay? I become a stuttering mess, having not been given enough insight yet into whether or not he was calm or still pissed off. Come here, he demands next, his tone clipped as I clasp my hands together to prevent them from shaking before making my way across the room towards him. I take care in stepping over any small items, with it quickly becoming a small obstacle course in order to reach him. I find comfort in the short distraction of dodge the mess before I am finally brought crashing back to reality when realizing I was now only a short distance from him. To my surprise, this corner of the room was the only corner that had gone untouched, seeing both chairs upright beside the dead fireplace. Sit, Kane states, as I do just that, planting my butt down on the comfortable lounge chair opposite him, now being able to see his features a little better from the close proximity. What did you get up to with Seth? He questions, his words remaining monotoned as he speaks and remains still. Yeah, it was nice to get some fresh air. I nod in confirmation, as he cocks his head to the side a little, drinking in my words. Where did you go? He pushes, as my palms begin to grow sweaty from his questions. Did he know where we went? maybe this was a test? And not far. I shrug, before pulling my lip between my teeth, feeling the new surge of anxiety shooting through me. You're nervous. He points out quickly, as my mouth parts and I become lost for words. He's not wrong there. What makes you say that? I whisper softly, feeling that he could see right through my plan to visit Aaron with Seth today. Of course he can. He's the damn alpha. Who am I to kid? Your stutter. It's bad again. He makes note, as I curse myself for developing the habit in overwhelming situations. Why couldn't I have been a nail biter instead? Something less annoying? Silence falls between us as my mind races for what to say yet settles for nothing in the end. I glance at him nervously, as he all but moves ever so slightly to clasp his hands across his stomach, elbows still situated on the armrests of the chair. He pauses in thought, with that same intense stare as he watches me carefully, seeming to dissect my soul with his mind. I wonder what he's thinking about. Did the cleaners come? He questions me next, catching me off guard with the normalcy of the question as I nod a couple of times to confirm they did. With that, he sighs, closing his eyes over for a moment before reopening them again. Come on Tessa, think of something to say. Seth and Anthony, they are both waiting outside to see you. I inform him, hoping that it would take the heat off of me. He sniggers slightly, shaking his head, as I grow confused at where exactly he found amusement in this. No they're not. He responds, as my brows knit together from his words. What does he mean they aren't out there? Why yes they are. They came up here to find you, with me. I argue my point as gently as possible, not enjoying that he thinks I would even make up something this silly. His eyes glint with slight amusement, seeming to restore his softer side for the first time since I had come in here. No Angel, you have it all wrong, they only came up here to bring you to me. He continues to smile slightly, seeming to enjoy the moment we shared as I shift to get more comfortable in my chair. So does that mean they must have only pretended to look for me? They knew I was in here, I sent them a mind link. Kane confirms, as I look so Mewhat horrified with their acting. But they said to send me in here first because they thought that you would go easier on me. I argue, growing flustered now with the fact that they had both pranked me. With that statement, Kane for the first time releases a heartfelt laugh, which is music to my ears. I almost felt guilty now for thinking I was coming in here to be greeted by some terrifying monster. Come to think of it, it really didn't make sense that Seth and Anthony would just send me in here to be slaughtered. Of course they knew he had cooled off. So it was a prank? I confirm, with my pitch rising as I speak to highlight my disbelief. Kane's laughter begins to die a little as he nods his head and seems amused by it all. But I trail off aloud, more to myself as I think on it all. You thought what? That I was going to rip you apart when you walked through that door? Silly girl. Kane mocks, his tone sarcastic as I chew my lip once again. That's sort of what I had thought, yes. Now you don't have to worry, I was just pissed off about something and I tend to break things when I'm pissed to avoid breaking other people, if you catch what I'm saying. Kane explains with a short huff, as I nod along in understanding. He breaks things to avoid the killing spree then? Great tactic. It's just a pity for the cleaners every time this happens. He tosses in a further joke, as this time I laugh slightly at the comment he had made too. They must hate him, but I guess they get paid well, right? We should probably grab dinner, what do you say? He suggests, pushing himself up onto his feet from his position in the chair. He reaches a hand out to me, which I take without hesitation, knowing that he was back to his usual self. It was moments like this which I felt I could open up to this male, plead with him to help my friend. However, I had learned from my mistake that it only pissed him off. With that, I remain praying for another miracle in order to help Aaron. Maybe Seth will change his mind and go back for her? Maybe even speak to Leo and have the incident reported? It would be the least he could do. Best case scenario, Aaron should be cut off from him and at least be given another shot at the next judgment day. The only sad thing about that would of course be that I wouldn't exactly be guaranteed to see her again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What matters now is that we help her out with the whole Leo situation, one way or another. Alpha, where else would you like for us to fix up for you? My thoughts are distracted when we reach the bottom floor and the cleaner approaches Kane instantly. Thanks Izzy, just my office and the kitchen got it a bit too. Kane laughs a little to take off the heat of what had happened as he gives my hand a soft squeeze in his when he speaks. I had almost forgotten that we were even linked up with hands. We got the kitchen sorted out, sir. We will head upstairs to the office now. It's never a bother. The female now known as Izzy comments, giving us both a kind smile before the goes to collect her equipment. The hallway was back to being immaculate once again, as though nothing had ever happened to begin with. You could even argue that we had made it all up. It looks that good. However, the now missing vase and lamp stood as evidence on its own, leaving the decor barer than before. We make our way to the dining room, being greeted with some of the best smells, causing my stomach to release a loud growl indicating its hunger. To my surprise, it was only myself and Kane here, yet everything was out and ready to be eaten, ranging from steaks to garlic roasted potatoes. Just us tonight, Tess, he confirms, releasing my hand to allow for me to take a seat as he does the same. I wonder where Seth and Anthony went.